feel rusty. Okay, been a minute. Okay. Hey folks, I'm Randy and you're watching Crows Before Bros. This is a channel I co-run with my bestie Lauren where we talk about books. This is a video that has been a long time coming for two reasons. One being that I kind of took a break from making videos for a hot minute altogether, and secondly because I started writing the script probably a year ago. But we're back, baby. Bonsoir! And we're here to talk about books that feel the same way that Studio Ghibli films feel. I'm obviously a huge fan of reading, and if you know me, you know that I'm also a big fan of Studio Ghibli. I think that Ghibli just makes like phenomenal, moving, whimsical, heartbreaking pieces, and I love their films. I will preface by saying I've not seen every single Ghibli film yet. I've seen probably about 10. Let's see, I've seen Spirited Away, Kiki's, Ponyo, Castle in the Sky, Boy and the Heron, Totoro, Whisper of the Heart, Ocean Waves, Princess Mononoke, Princess Kaguya. I think that's all of them. Of course, all of these movies have unique and individual themes and characters and settings and vibes, but there are some commonalities across Ghibli films, if you're a fan, that make them so iconic and so lovable, and you see things and you're like, ah, that's what I'm here for. Many of these movies have themes of growing up and the loss of childhood, or grief and loss, or environmentalism, or finding the joy and whimsy in the mundane, and appreciating the loved ones that we have around us. These movies also manage to tackle all that stuff in a way that swaddles you up like a little baby, and you get to just be held by it, and you know that it'll be okay, and it's gonna work out, and there's just this like distinct peace despite the chaos. There's a definitive coziness to these films, even when they're heavier, something like Princess Mononoke or The Boy and the Heron or Princess Kaguya. All this being said, I'm often on the hunt for books that kind of fit this bill also. Not necessarily all cozy, just vibes, no plot, which is what I found Legends and Lattes to be. I want the coziness and the whimsy and the comfort while still facing some kind of challenge in what I'm reading. Book one, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Howl's Moving Castle by Diane Wynne Jones is very obviously a movie with Ghibli vibes because it got turned into a Ghibli movie. This is a book where I had seen the movie prior to reading the book, which is pretty rare for me. Usually I'm a book first person, but I honestly didn't know this book existed when I watched the movie. As a result, reading the book was this kind of delightful experience of being able to pull those characters from my mind and that animation style and that world and paste it onto the book. I love this movie immensely. I think Howl is a great character. I relate a lot to Sophie. Calcifer makes me laugh out loud. I just love it. It's often my, like, if I'm kind of in a foggy brain day, I want to watch Howl's Moving Castle. This all being said, the book is for sure a different experience. It's got a bit more of the world building, a bit more of the character introspection, a bit of a different ending, and some plot lines that were just dropped in the film. And this happens with adaptations, and I'm honestly not too upset about it. It makes a book feel enough like its own experience while still feeling like the movie did it justice. This book really has it all. We've got whimsy, we've got magic, we've got funny side characters, we have Howl, we have a look at the idea of discontent within our lives and the idea of chasing passion. We also are faced with the idea of how we stick to our first impressions and how we can be wrong about them. This book, while written for children, is so deeply charming. I think I read it for the first time when I was like 26 and I loved it. I truly think this story fits in with classics of this genre, Narnia or Anne of Green Gables. It feels like just top tier children's literature that will stand the test of time. This all being said, I do have a preference for movie Howl. They just zhuzhed him a little, you know? I love him.
That's my girl.
Next book is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This sweet book is always the first that comes to mind when I think of books that I think should be made into a Ghibli film. In this book, we follow a town that believes that they have to give a baby as a sacrifice to the witch who lives in the forest every year to protect their town, otherwise this witch will go wild and just like kill everybody. We then see from the perspective of the witch, who's just like out on a walk, and every year she finds a baby and she's like, what the heck am I supposed to do with this stupid baby? So she like takes care of it and then rehouses it in nearby villages. This witch, Zan, is actually so tender and gentle. She lives in this cozy little glade with a tiny dragon and a big swamp monster, and it just like, it set off alert, tiny guy alert, because that's the Ghibli vibe, is grief and also little guys. One year, the witch Zan accidentally feeds the baby moonlight instead of starlight, which kind of imbues this baby with more magical power than she should have, and Zan is then made responsible to take care of her because she's like, well, I can't just give this magic baby to a town that wouldn't know what to do with it. Zan chooses to hide this magic deep within the baby and raise it as her own. She names her Luna because she drank the moonlight. It's very cute. However, as Luna begins to grow, the magic is not being contained very well anymore. It's very prevalent that she has this magic just seeping out of her pores. Meanwhile, people from the town have started to rebel, and they're on a literal witch hunt. They're like, we're gonna kill this witch, we're done with giving up our babies to her. And Luna kind of has to decide where her loyalties lie. She recognizes that this town is her birthplace and her family, but Zan is the one who's raised her and taken care of her whole life. This book is honestly the coziest. It's one of the first books I read as an adult that I was like, I actually need to buy this so I can read it to my future children one day. It truly feels like a modern fairy tale and has some of those Ghibli tropes, from the silly little guys to the importance of family to the growing up and the loss of childhood and the need to make those hard decisions. I would like to implore Miyazaki, I know you've said you've retired. We know you haven't retired. Just adapt this one. I think it would be so, so beautiful. Third up on our list, we have The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O. This YA fantasy is on every list that's like this kind of cozy, magical realism type thing, specifically because it feels like it's set in the Spirited Away kind of world. We follow our main character Mina as she trades places with her sister-in-law as a sacrifice to the sea god. She's transported to the spirit realm, told that she is the true love of the slumbering sea god, and that her humanity in the spirit realm is kind of a threat and she should be hiding it. She's trying to navigate this new place, hiding her humanity, coming across a wide range of characters and spirits who will help or hinder her journey. In reality, this book started off great and just wasn't entirely what I wanted. I think I just wanted a bit more of like the world building and the characters. We had a bit of a cyclical plot that I grew weary of. The story that it told is stunning, and I think that it could be done really, really well. It just maybe wasn't my favorite. I thought it was fine, but the imagery and the settings are like unparalleled. Gorgeous writing, gorgeous descriptions, beautiful, and it felt like Spirited Away in the setting and the world building. Book 4 is A Song for the Wild Build by Becky Chambers. This book was super popular. I've seen it described as comfort science fiction, and I actually think that that is perfect. This book follows our main character sibling Dex as they decide to live life as a tea monk in response to dissatisfaction with their previous life. Over time, sibling Dex learns that this change of vocation actually wasn't enough to quash that dissatisfaction and that malcontent, and they decide to go on a journey and try to find what makes life worth living. They want to experience life, they want to experience nature, they head out in the woods, they find a robot named Mosscap, the cutest freaking name. Mosscap is on a quest to find out what humans need after years of non-contact between humans and robots. The book essentially follows a series of really introspective conversations about the idea of comfort, humanity, history, desire, purpose, all these kind of things that make us humans and that feed into a sense of yearning. I think similar to some Ghibli films, A Song for the Wild Built pairs optimism with a call to look within ourselves, to find some whimsy and peace and curiosity and look at the world around us and question. And of course we have Moscap, who immediately reminded me of the gentle robot from Castle in the Sky. Next we have The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. This one might feel a bit tonally off, but let me explain. The Strange Library tells the story of a boy who has to escape a strange, mysterious library
He said it!
that he's trapped in, and it's honestly a little spooky at times. The boy is told he has to memorize as many facts as he is able to, and then he'll be free, but then learns that actually what's going to happen is the librarian is going to eat his brain because it's so full of yummy little facts. Nom, nom, nom. This book has a lot of fantastical elements, including a sheepman and a semi-invisible girl who are both joining him in his attempts to escape. And the boy has a largely mysterious past that we get little snippets of, and as a reader I found myself like digging and clawing, trying to figure out what it meant. The book is also super short, clocking in under 100 pages. After listening to this one on audiobook with my husband on a road trip, it struck up a long conversation of like, well, what did that mean? And if we think that that meant that, then what did this represent? And that's some of my favorite Ghibli film vibes. This one reminded me a bit of The Boy and the Heron, particularly because of its look at grief and loss and exploring those themes through this kind of magical realism setting. In both works, the main character experiences an extreme loss and then falls into an unknown world full of assorted threats to overcome. Both works really skid around telling the watchers or the readers the actual theme or the point, allowing the person engaging with the content to impart their own story and their own understanding, their own experiences onto the piece. It kind of allows us to create a little bit of our own meaning. I think both stories are beautiful and complex, and I think both really benefit from a second consumption to really understand. Last on the list, we have the Kakuse books by Sosuke Natsukawa. Another short read. This book follows our main character, Rintaro, who's something of a teenage recluse after the death of his grandfather. In his life, he had owned a secondhand bookstore, which Rintaro helped care for. So not only are we witnessing the grief of Rintaro losing his grandfather, but also Rintaro kind of losing this life as somebody who lived at and helped out at this bookstore as he's about to move away to live with an aunt. It's in this place of grief where a talking cat named Tiger shows up at the bookstore and tells Rintaro that it's actually his job to come and save some books. Rintaro and us as readers are whisked away to this other kind of magical world through a hallway in the bookstore that suddenly never ends, and we're taken to these labyrinths where we have to solve a problem. There are 4 of these characters who have labyrinths, and they all have a skewed relationship with books that maybe started as a love relationship and have become something more hurtful or sinister. This book really takes some look at trends with reading and publishing right now and holds them under a microscope and says like, wait, maybe that's not good. Maybe this isn't healthy. Maybe we're doing that wrong. Through the process, we as readers are challenged in our own relationship with reading and publishing and how we engage with those things and why do we do things the way we do. We're also challenged to see that books have a soul, and the more that we pour into them, the more we get back out. There's something about the magical realism at play here that feels so Ghibli. Just so Ghibli. Maybe it's the sassy talking cat.
Jeez, what a snob. And did you see that cat?
The vibes were distinctly Ghibli in being both cozy and comforting, but challenging me in how I view something I love. I guess the conclusion here is just that I love Ghibli films and I love books that feel like them. I love a book that is soft at first glance but has some edges and is going to push you in how you think about things. They take a part of our world or feeling or an experience and they put it in our hands and make us turn it over and say like, what do I think about this? What do I really believe about that? Are there any books that you think I've missed? Because I would love to read more books with this kind of vibe. Alternatively, what is your favorite Ghibli film? I would love to talk about them. I would say my favorite for emotional destruction, perhaps, is The Tale of Princess Kaguya. literally would just like start weeping in my car for a week after watching it. But my favorite comfort one has to be Kiki's Delivery Service. It's just so cozy and I love it. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry I've been absent for so long. I just wasn't feeling inspired for a while. I'm going to try some things out, see what I like, see what fits for me. I hope you stick around for it. Please like, comment, subscribe, blah 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 YouTube stuff. You guys know the drill. Love you. Bye. Mwah.